I just said welcome back like twice. Damn, that's so bad.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Shut the hell up.
Back. Welcome. Okay.
I think if we want to talk about New York, let's talk about Tibbs. Just as a coach, who he is. This is his track record. He runs his players to the ground. Like he pretty much basically kills them. D'Lo, Rui Hachimura, and Austin Reeves. I'll see you in hell. That's it. I'll see you in hell because we should have won that series, especially after watching the Wolves. I know the Wolves are a great team. I've been saying all year. We should have beat them. I'll see all you guys in hell. I'll be there.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ridgeway Pod. I'm your host, Udoy, and today we'll be talking about the upcoming Western Conference and the Eastern Conference Finals. We finally made it this far into this NBA season, down to the last four teams, the Final Four. And I have Ush here helping me talk about all the teams and discussing the tactics that each team may use. And just a deep dive in the four remaining champions, I guess you could say. I guess, for now. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about the Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers. Shout out to Indiana. Woo.
So, if you want to, let's talk about the previous series, I guess, first, just to give a little recap for everybody. So, Boston just beat Cleveland 4-1. It's funny because that series was interesting because that one game that the Cavs won, it kind of looked like, oh, maybe they found something here, but then after it kind of died off. But Boston also just faced a bunch of the Cavs who were fully injured at the end of that series. I don't think Donovan Mitchell played the last two games of the series.
Yeah,
which there's not really much to say about that series. My only takeaway from that series is every time, which I've harped on this before the last two episodes, every time the Celtics do the All Lives Matter offense, it doesn't really work. When they go to Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown to facilitate the offense, it works better. We finally saw Jayson Tatum 30 ball, so congrats. Welcome to being a superstar in the NBA playoffs. But other than that, like for me, my side, like it's really about the Cavs off season that's coming up. That's going to be rough because we even saw Shams right off the break drops the most scathing post ever about the article about how the Cavs are pretty much finished. They have so many problems. Mobley wants to get traded. DG wants to leave. Donovan Mitchell wants to stay, but I don't know if he's going to stay. Yeah. But more so on that end. But for the Celtics end, going forward to the future, it's not much, man. This playoff run for them, which is warranted. I don't like people saying that it's an easy run for them or it's a cakewalk for them. They're the number one seed. They won 63 games, 64 games for a reason. This is what they get, and they don't have control over who's going to win or lose. When we get to that Pacers series in the next topic, we'll talk about like the Pacers. It's the same thing with them, where it's like these guys can only do what they're supposed to do. They have no choice in the matter with the injuries and who they play and whatnot. They just got to go out there and win. Now, if they're losing, then that would be really embarrassing. Like if you want to talk about somebody who's losing who is supposed to win, you can go like Clippers in the bubble or Clippers every year that they've been in the playoffs since with Kawhi. Or if you want to go Joel Embiid when he played against Trae Young. Why did you lose that series? Stuff like that if you want to do that. But on the flip end, when you're supposed to win a series and you win a series, no matter which way you win it, I don't think it should be a knock on you.
Right.
You have no choice over that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think that's wrong either. I think I was thinking about the whole narrative of easy run to the finals. To me, it's not like they really stacked the deck. I think it's just great management and great building because, we've seen like super teams. This is not a super team per se, like that kind of thing where like we felt more like the Warriors were like right after 73-9, you add Kevin Durant. Like that's pretty insane. Like that's when you kind of have to hold them to a certain accountability of like, yo, you gotta win the whole thing at that point.
Yeah.
But back to Boston, this is a well-crafted team. Like you pretty much said, they're the best team in the league. They're gonna get home court throughout the whole thing. They fought for this throughout the whole season. It's consistency. It's kind of like in soccer when it's like 38 games, the best team in 38 games wins the league. Like the table doesn't lie.
You're gonna win the league.
For Boston Celtics, the table doesn't lie, and their gameplay doesn't, like the way they play doesn't lie. They need to be tested more, sure, maybe, but even when it happens, like the one game they get like a little scratch, the one game lost per series,
Mm.
they've just been gentlemen sweeping everyone, and I think that's how it's just like for now going to keep going in a way because they just seem to be in rhythm. But just quickly on the Cavs note, you were pointed out the whole Shams report. It's just like blowing up the team, which is so
Just
crazy.
destroyed it.
It's insane because to me, I think shout out to Mobley. That last game, especially that game 5, I
Yeah, he
saw
was.
there was moments where like when he realizes offensively what he can be, and if you get him the ball, maybe Donovan Mitchell not being there got him more touches also, which you got to figure that out. But he, I think it was like Sam Hauser or like even JT, like Tatum guarding him at some points or on a switch or
Mhm.
something. It happens. He goes in, and it's funny. We were talking about it last night about the layup, the reach layup that big man with long arms
Oh
can do,
yeah, yeah.
like the extended clip, you just
Yeah, the
drop it
Wemby
in.
layup.
He
Yeah,
did the Wemby layup. He was doing it yesterday quite
yeah.
a bit, and he's just like showing his offensive prowess. Like I think he just needs to. There's something there to work with. I feel like with Evan Mobley, and it's not just defense. He also offensively he can be a great big in this league, like you
I
saw.
will say with Mobley, like I said when we did this, when we talked about our series predictions about this series, and I said, look, Mobley has to show me something on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Don't be Rudy Gobert. That was my thing, where it's like you're great defensively, but you got to show me on the offensive end,
Mm-hmm.
which he clearly showed us that he has something. I feel like it's not more. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's on him. I think it's more so maybe on Bickerstaff
Yeah.
that to enable that. Like
Mm-hmm.
the way he was attacking closeouts, attacking his matchups, there's always a mismatch. There's always someone shorter on him.
Exactly. Right.
Like those things, like being aggressive to go to the basket.
Yeah.
It's nice that he showed that even if they lost the series going
Yeah.
forward, and like he's gonna be in the Cavs for a while. I don't think he's gonna get traded,
No, he's
but
untouchable. Yeah.
like so it's nice to see that. And when you said like him and Donovan Mitchell 2-man game for those 2 games, the one they won in the game right after game 2 and game 3, their 2-man game was really, really nice. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they had a lot of chemistry. I think they finished with Mobley at 21, 9 and 3 with 1 block, 1 steal, and then Mitchell 31, 6 and 6, 6 and 5 with 1 steal. Decent percentages. Spider shot 50% from 3, which is kind of insane. And he
Yeah.
took 30 of them, so
Yeah.
you got to give his hats off. But
Yeah. No, so
yeah, other
like
than that,
he finished with 33 last game. Mobley did like
mhm,
33 points, 2 blocks, 7 rebounds, and just like what 4 assists. Yeah. So like it's
yeah,
just an all-around game. There's pieces they can work with. They just have to stay focused. Like they can't let the noise get to them. And
yeah,
I
that's
know
true.
we all know the whole LeBron stuff. Everyone keeps LeBron went to a game and
Yeah,
Bronny getting drafted and a lot going on there. But yeah, let's see what happens with Cleveland. I think they're not. They can grow. They can build. That's the thing.
there's
They,
something
they
there.
can
There's
build.
still
Yeah.
something there. They gotta get rid of pieces, and they gotta get other pieces. But there's a building block there.
Yeah.
I don't know about whatever happens with Spider. That's the main thing. If Spider
Sure.
stays or goes,
A lot of rumors.
but like the rookies and the core that they have, I don't know if Jared Allen's gonna stay, but if they trade Jared
Mhm.
Allen, they can probably get a haul for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's things to do that they can move forward and look better
Yeah.
in the future.
And
Um,
so that's kind of like for their series, I guess.
yeah,
And like we'll move to the Indiana Pacers and Knicks series. We'll finish
yeah.
that off. Yeah. So what did you see there? That was a crazy game
That
7.
series was that
Nuts.
series was a funny one because people are gonna be saying people are already saying on Twitter this, that, whatever, and I agree partially where it's like, yeah, New York died, but like I think if we want to talk about New York, let's talk about Tibbs just as a coach who he is. This is his track record. He
Mm.
runs his players to the ground. Like, he pretty much basically kills them. OG on that game 7, I've like he looked so perked out. It was insane. I don't think he knew what the hell he was doing.
Yeah.
And that honestly, that entire Knicks team, they look like they were moving in slow motion. Like they look like
Hmm.
they have no control over their legs. It's kind of their head is telling them, their brain is telling them to keep moving forward, keep playing, but they couldn't do anything other than Dante DiVincenzo. I know he had a great game. I think he had
Yeah.
39 points, which is insane. But
Right.
like other than him, but he was still minus 20, by the way. But other than him on the offensive end, they couldn't do nothing. Like, and the Pacers, what did they do? They play with pace, they play
Mhm.
fast, they go up and down, and they just kept doing. They had more, energy left over, and they took advantage of their injuries.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say for the Pacers going forward, which is like this is a huge thing. First of all, they made it into the Eastern Conference Finals. Very young team. They traded for Siakam. This is why they traded for Siakam. They want to make a push. They want to do this. We'll talk about the another team who didn't make any trades and lost for it. Well, and they have the utilities to make trades on the flip end on the Western Conference. But this is what you do. Like Indiana did this. Boston did this in the offseason. What's it called? The Wolves did this. And the Mavericks did this. The 4 teams that we have in the conference finals, shows you that you got to go all in. Like the Rams in 2020 when the Rams said, you know what, we have this core that's really good. Let's go get Matt Stafford and Jalen Ramsey and Von Miller and give whatever we can for these superstars and go crazy. That's what these 4 teams are showing you, where it's like, look, we're gonna sell out a little bit to get these pieces because we think we can make a run. And on the flip end, we see a bunch of teams that stayed put. Nuggets, Lakers, whoever else, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they faltered. It's not fully, that's not the full blame, but that attributes to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the second thing I will say for the Pacers is Tyrese Haliburton's back, baby. Let's go. He died. He got his injuries and his percentages died and he couldn't shoot the ball anymore. But he's back. I think he's shooting like his. Let me find the exact splits of his shooting. It's right here. He averaged 21. He averaged 44% from 3-point line in that series. He shot 66 threes. So it's not like he's taking like three. No, he's taking like 2 threes a game. And then last game, going this game 7 that he just played, he went 6 for 12 from 3. Like he's back, like the 50% from 3. He was shooting 40% all season before he got injured. Yeah, it's really nice to see him. Kind of like rounding back into shape. Funny enough, it's weird. You're supposed to get more injured as the playoffs go on, but he kind of looked like he's getting more healthier. I don't know how much that's going to affect the Boston series, but it's nice to see. For the Knicks end, I will say they're such a solid team. I feel like they should be in the conference finals, right? But like, there's no moves to make really. It's kind of like a coaching decision. Like, what are we going to do here? Are we going to change our philosophies? Because I don't think you fired Thibodeau, but maybe you talk to him and try to change the philosophy, but Thibodeau is who he is. So going forward, what happens with that, I'm not too sure.
So for me, I guess I'll start on the Knicks there. A really solid team. Thibodeau has his floor is amazing. It's a ceiling, I feel like, against Cap, and that's due to overplaying, I feel like, and burning his players out a little bit. I think that narrative sticks with him, and for a good reason. It's happened, I feel like, since time. Like, he was coaching on the Bulls, like that's when his name got even more shown. Funny enough, he was like pretty much kind of like the defensive coordinator for those 08 Celtics teams, like the Doc Rivers ones. And I remember at one point, like, the Lakers ended up winning in 2010, but the Celtics fans be like, if Garnett was fully healthy, if so-and-so was fully healthy, if their bigs didn't get battered up like that, Perkins and stuff, it's like they could have. So I feel like this thing kind of goes with him wherever he goes, like this statement, the stigma.
Well, did you see that Joakim Noah thing?
Yeah,
Joakim Noah said about Kyle Korver, like not wanting to go to practice. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like,
just like, no, not today.
Maybe there's an extreme level that you're
a
just
little
going
bit
to, you know what I mean?
And like, he's such a veteran coach. He's not like a new coach. So maybe you would have thought by now he would have figured out not to load manage, obviously, but to find the balance. Because everyone around him, his colleagues, I'm sure they talk. They in the off season, you talk to front office people, you talk to like stats people, and be like, and I'm sure he knows a lot of people that.
Well, you can't have people playing in a February game 46 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing.
And look what happened. Like,
Josh Hart
die. Yeah,
Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson in the last round. Everyone. Brunson left the game with a fractured hand. Like. That's your star beacon of hope player.
Who knows whoever else is fighting through injury right now on that team either.
Right. What's interesting?
Alec Burks had to come and give crucial spot minutes, but it's you
To
could have played him earlier.
to me, I think like in terms of moves to make, I think it's philosophy first, but second of all, Julius Randle, I think his contract, he has a player option, I think in 2025-26 season.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a unrestricted free agent in 2026-27 season.
Mhm.
So there's a, I don't know, do you kind of, because you have your bigs, you have your wings, you have your Brunson, like your superstar.
Yeah.
Do you get more pieces for him? Because
I
you guys
think
are kind of win now, right? I mean, sorry, not you guys, but like the Knicks.
they
I mean, they're win now, right? So more than rebuilding. If Randall, maybe Randall is like a fringe star, all star
mhm.
type person. If you can get some more pieces, I don't know, maybe that's an option there.
And my thing is, I don't know who's willing to. I guess it's his contract year next year. So that, I mean, no. Next year he has 2 years left on his contract, a year
Yeah,
and then a player option.
the player option.
So it's not bad of a contract to take for teams,
Yeah,
but my only thing is like I feel like Paul George might be like the biggest sweepstakes this offseason coming up, and who's gonna go get Paul George? Who's gonna try to go get Paul George? But I will say, like, if the Knicks really want to go for a splash or anything like that, go get Braun. Go go get Braun. Go see what he's saying. Go call him up. Be like, hey, look, you wanted to come to New York in
he loves New
2018,
York apparently.
but you didn't have a great relationship with CA. But I think they patched it up, and everything with Phil Jackson. But a lot of those guys are not in the building anymore.
Yep,
So
yep.
I feel like maybe LeBron want to go play for the Knicks. I don't think LeBron has a problem being number 2 to Jalen Brunson. And then they have that rest of the team that's there. That would be kind of an insane move, but
That would be
that would put
insane.
them like championship contenders right there with the Celtics next
In
year,
the
kind of
East
thing.
too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
yeah, that's
other than that
interesting.
though, other than that, it's like
Whoosh
Joshua. I
bomb.
mean, Paul George, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there's not really a lot of moves to make. It's really the philosophy that's going to come down to it. I think Jalen Brunson's honestly good enough. Like, Becky
yeah,
Hammond and Candace Parker are going to be taking their victory laps today, but I think Brunson is a one. I honestly do think so. Like,
yeah.
he be unloading the clip and this, that, whatever, but
His
dude,
mid
he
range,
is
his shot
special,
selection
man.
is so good. It's like butter. Like he gets to his spot and boom, and
The
it
way
looks like every
Brunson
single time
Academy,
it won't go in because the guy's
man.
contesting him and like he's kind of leaning and
Mhm.
shooting, and it's just like looks awkward, and it's like splash every single time. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Rick.
my thing for kind of the Knicks. Back now going to the Pacers. What I want to say for this series, especially Haliburton kind of came alive because I think in the beginning of the series he was
Yeah.
kind of like, we're like, yo, be aggressive, be more aggressive. You have to learn how to get people involved, but to be a true superstar, to be the number one, you have to, your passing is great, but you also have to be aggressive. You have to be a threat both ways. So I think he did that. But shout out to TJ McConnell. Oh my God.
Oh my god.
He was a
Oh
plus
my
21,
god,
tied
dude.
with
He's
Haliburton in this game
insane.
7. But dude, I was watching that game.
He's
He knows
insane.
what to do at every given play moment. Like sometimes I'm just like, he's just kind of dribbling, but the
Mhm,
pass he makes that leads to the hockey assist, he does the hockey assist, or he
mhm.
does the pass, and then he knows when to floater it up. He just reads the game so well. And defensively, I think they had like him hounding Brunson like for 94 feet, like just kind of be a pest. And again, because of his court awareness, his IQ, he knows he's at the right spots. So he's not really a defensive liability because of his size. He looks so small out there compared to all the other players out
Oh,
there, but
100%.
he just knows. And it's like Haliburton was on the bench for so long. It's kind of like
That
when your
in
superstar
the
goes to
third
the
quarter, I
yeah
think it was in the second or third
second
quarter when
second yeah
Second quarter when Haliburton
yeah
went to the
it
bench,
kind of
and then
extended
and then he kind of went. He took the lead and he ran with it. He
yeah.
extended it
You
even
know when
more.
your
He
star
was he
sits,
was full.
don't lose
Yeah,
these minutes. And he
exactly.
said that. Like
He
he's like,
won the
yeah,
minutes.
let Brunson and Alec Burks and them play. I'm gonna be just as good as them. Like that's what he was kind of showing with his sure. And the box office it's like 12.7 assists, but they
Yeah.
were so valuable. And he just does a little bit of everything. It's just a championship type of player you want in your team, backup point guard. And he's been like this though since the Sixers
Oh,
days. Like when he
100%.
backed up Ben,
100%.
back like
Yeah.
those Sixers. So shout out to TJ McConnell.
I will
Everyone
say
else, oof, yeah.
for that, that game 7, the craziest part of that game 7 is, and this both goes into like how injured and dead the Knicks were. The Pacers shot 67% in that game. 67 in the game 7? Like
A Tibbs team, by the way.
we're gonna talk about another game 7, and both those teams shot 40%.
Wow,
And they
dog.
shot 67. They shot they were 70% all the way up until like garbage time. When they just let in all the bench come in, and then
Yeah.
the percentage dropped. So
Yeah. Yeah.
basically 70%. So you're not. They didn't miss. They
Yeah.
decided not to miss.
With or
But
without their superstar on the floor or not.
54 from three. Like they hit 13 threes. Insane, just insane. What an insane
Yeah.
game.
No.
But
Amazing.
what are your predictions for the series that's coming up between those
So
two?
let's go into those two. The six Celtics and Pacers are now facing off.
Mhm.
For me, I think no offense to the Pacers, I think it's going to be routine for the Celtics to just get the job done. They are so locked in. Everybody's kind of contributing. I feel like just to mention quickly, Drew Holiday and Al Horford in that last game 5 were really
they had a
good. Like
great game,
I like just to because I don't think we talked more about the Cavs than the Celtics in the last one there, but they just timely making their threes, making their shots. Obviously, if their threes fall, they're gonna win. Brown and Tatum just getting their reps up, I guess, and just I think it's gonna be the same. I think when we talked about the original, like when Indiana first beat their first round opponent, like when the Bucks,
the Bucks. Yeah.
I said irrational confidence. That's their
Yeah.
juice, and they're just gonna keep going. Sure, the injuries helped them in that series and the last series, but I think it's more of a rational confidence thing where you just gotta they just gotta keep going. They're gonna play their game, right? They're not gonna change too much. And whatever it's like where the cards fall, the cards will fall. Like so, but because of that, I think the Celtics are just more complex with their schemes and defensive, especially the way they match up. It's like I think they can run with them too. So I think it's kind of a Celtics in 5 thing. It's just gentlemen sweeps in Central over there in Boston, and they're just gonna have their suit on and just continue to perform.
So I will say, like, my train of thought is aligning with yours. I don't think it's gonna be much of a series, like much of a competitive series. I will say though, like how you mentioned, like the irrational confidence with the Pacers. I will say, like, I don't think that locker room is like, oh, we made it here because of injuries. They definitely don't think that way. Like, they're like, we made it here because we won the games we're supposed to win. We won 4 games out of the 8 games we were supposed to. I mean, what is it? We won 8 games out of the whatever that we were supposed to win.
6, 7, 13.
And whatever the 14 game, whatever it is, bro.
Yeah.
But they won those games and they're here now. They're just gonna go out there and hoop. It kind of reminds me of the Hawks when they made that run, and that Hawks run was elite, dude. They did it. How crazy how fun that Hawks run was. I think it's the same thing that we're seeing right now in Boston, just gonna plummet them or whatever. But that series won't be close. I don't think so. It'll be another 4-1, maybe 4-0, maybe 4-1, but something like that. Great season from the Pacers though. Yeah, it's just an inevitability when it comes with the Celtics. I feel like we mentioned it before in the pod. We said only thing that matters for these guys is June 6th to the 23rd. That's all that matters to them. It's all they're seeing in their eyes. Other than that, like, they don't even match up well. I feel like, dude. Like, Tyrese is gonna be guarded by Drew. Pascal's gonna be guarded by Tatum or Brown. Then Miles Turner, Al Horford. I know Porzingis is still out, but I think Porzingis is gonna be good to come back eventually.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna have Nemhard, Obi Toppin, these guys. Comparatively to the Celtics starting lineup, it's not the best. I will say their bench might be better, so they could have some bench runs, stuff like that. But
sure,
the way the Celtics stagger their players and the way they play, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, it's true. Just before we leave this conference and move to the West, just want to say, like you said, Tyrese Haliburton, just like Trae Young, led his team to the Eastern Conference Finals. A young point guard doing that. Please, LaMelo Ball, wake up. Please get whatever surgery, get Cybertronic, things in your ankle, whatever Steph did to fix his ankles. Please, man, you got to get going, man. These guys are running. And sure, it's 1 year. Like, it was one crazy run. LaMelo, man, you need to get in the playoffs and do something.
That 2020 draft class going crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, we both feel like LaMelo was the best one in that draft class.
Like, talent-wise, right?
Just talent-wise, just coming into it, prospect-wise.
Yeah.
And it sucks that, the injuries and that garbage organization and all the nonsense that goes on in that organization. We see one guy left the organization, and it is now in the Western Conference Finals. So
just quick shout out. Yeah.
really need them to fix up that team for sure.
Yeah, man. You can't
Yeah.
waste a talent like that. Like
No, you
he's
can't.
exciting guards and he should be up there. Like he's just as
Mhm.
marketable. And just the eye test, just like the way he plays, he has fun playing the game. He makes you want to play the game. Like
100%.
so just the way he passes and just scores and just yeah, man, and 6'8" point guard too, like or
Yeah.
6'6", whatever.
Six,
So
seven, I
yeah,
think something like that, yeah.
moving on to the Western Conference Finals now. So I guess we'll talk about the first champion the
Yeah.
first candidate that made it, which was the Dallas Mavericks that beat the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yep.
Great series, I feel like,
Yep.
kind of like a boxing chess match that happened and it came down to the wire. Very ironic how SGA's season came down to a whistle. But hey,
Giving out
hey
of free
man,
throws, hilarious.
that's crazy. Shout out to SGA. He's such a nice guy. I think you sent me that tweet where he's just like in that
Yeah.
press conference, like he says the right things. He's just like, I
He
shouldn't have
just like,
fouled.
yeah.
Hilarious. He takes his jokes like that the media's dishing him in the press conference room. But yeah, what a series though. Fun, interesting series. And
What a series.
yeah, no, go for it. What did you think about OKC Thunder, youngest team,
Yeah.
and shout out to them.
Like I had the Thunder winning, you had the Mavs winning, so your pick, went through at the end. I will say for this series, it showed a lot of flaws in two things. Mike Dagnall and his scheming,
Mhm.
and Sam Presti and his constant
Picks.
behavior of hoarding and like
Yeah.
like so absorbed with this draft pick thing where it's like, dude, like
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta move these things. Because if you really want to make it very simple, the X factor of that series, the
Yeah.
two X factors was PJ Washington, great series. Like
Mhm.
insane series. He averaged 17 a game, but he had like 29 in one game. I think it was the game
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Like he was going crazy. And then the other one was the plus minus and the numbers will say Gafford, kind of stunk it up. And, we saw lively in game 6 what he did. But I thought Gafford was having a great series. Like,
Right.
all the way up, I think game 6 was one of his worst games. And Lively kind of stepped up in that role. But he had such a great series. And those two are trades that the Dallas Mavericks made because they're like, look, we want to win. We want to try to go win. So we're going to get these pieces for our guys and go win it. And if you want to talk about it, look, Luka, this is probably Luka's worst series ever.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been his worst series ever.
Yeah.
Like stats wise and like, efficiency wise.
Impact,
Impact
of the game. Yeah.
He had, but still 24, 10, and 8 is ridiculous. But I feel like what Luka is not getting any credit for is his defense. He actually we'll talk about the Nuggets in a bit, but Luka actually showed all the passing lanes. I think he averaged 2 steals a game in this series. And I think it was half a block. So, which is insane. And then on the flip side, same thing with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving didn't have a crazy series, averaged 15.5 points per game. And, not the greatest splits, this, that, whatever. But both of them, they weren't liabilities on defense. So their offense being bogged down was getting counteracted by them playing really good defense. And then on the flip side, if you want to go look at what I was talking about with OKC, is this scheme. The offensive scheme they had going into the game, if you watch teams like the Nuggets and even watch like the Mavs always have these set plays, set designs. Mavs are the new lob city. They're always like dunking the ball. And I get it. It's a beneficiary. It's because you have an insane playmaker in both the Nuggets and the Mavs. But I feel like the way the Mike Dagnall just coached this team, like it was all just isolation plays. It kind of reminded me of the Suns, especially when it comes to Shea. I find the isolation, then find the open bucket. And then same thing with, J-Dub, same thing with him. I feel like J-Dub used most of his energy on the defensive end and he's young and he's inexperienced. So that offensive end, maybe jitters, maybe, tiredness.
Shoot.
But everybody else, Lou Dort, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Josh Giddey, Casey Wallace, Jalen Williams, like these guys are all they can't create buckets for themselves. And their plays that come down to are like flare, pin down screens, get an open three for these guys.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really work in the playoffs all that much when you're really locked into a team for this long.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a shortcoming of thing. The other thing is Josh Giddey was so bad in that series. Like,
he's off it.
Awful. Like he was a net negative the entire series. his game just doesn't translate well. I think he shot like 16% from three or something like that. I think that's what it says. 18% from three.
Just
He took
overall.
16 threes. Like just a terrible series overall. Got outplayed. We said this in the beginning of this when we talked about it halfway through the two games. I said Josh Giddey couldn't be played, but then if I gotta bring this up. Lou Dort, man, he was getting his shit fried, man.
Yep.
Like, and the rugby, soccer, football, whatever, the rugby type tackling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not working. It didn't work. Like, Luka, even though Luka was inefficient, Luka still averaged 11 assists per game. So Luka was killing him on the other end with that. And it's just, I feel like that's what the series really came down to. It's like Josh Giddey was unplayable. Dort became unplayable. Case and Wallace became unplayable. Their offensive scheme was just so mundane, boring. And I get it when you're late in the series, it bogs down to very simple actions. But you got to try to find some exploits within the Mavs defense. And there is exploits you can find, especially when you have Kyrie and Luka in the front court.
Sure, I'm sure.
Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington aren't lockdown. They're not this, they're not like these crazy lockdown defenders. And then the third thing I will say is that backup center minutes killed the Thunder. Like Lively and Gafford. That's Lively and Gafford, and you have Chet and Jalen Williams. Like, so you have just Chet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Go on.
Go ahead.
But just based off that, I think OKC being so small really hurt them. The same way we used to be like, oh, the Lakers versus OKC, Lakers and whatever, because just bigger and like, just grabbing more rebounds and just the second chance points. You have Lively, who's a rookie, Gafford, who's trying to make a name for himself. Like, they're obviously just gonna like play their heart out, no matter how talented Chet is, right? I do think Shea being the only person that can really create for himself, and also like when the lights got bright, Shea is the only one that kind of said make him brighter, because he averages points, he got his buckets, he kept him in the game, he was making timely shots, he had randomly became 3-point master too in the end of games. So, but I think he was expending so much on the offensive end. Defensively, he was kind of getting attacked. I don't want to say like he was a defensive liability, but there was a point where PJ Washington was attacking him. And then when they switched off, and he's like, okay, Shea, guard Derrick Jones Jr. He's not gonna move. But then Derrick Jones Jr. started hitting fadeaways on Shea.
If you look at the numbers, it's actually so funny because PJ Washington, after they switched off, PJ Washington averaged 5 points per game, and then Derrick Jones Jr. started averaging 20 points per game.
And Shea was
but I will give Shea this bail.
Right.
Mike Dagnall's game plan, which we talked about. We said that only works for so long, is selling out for Luka and Kyrie and leaving a corner three open.
Yeah.
If they're gonna hit them eventually, man.
Yeah, because that's their play.
Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington started hitting, and then when you start seeing shots go in, you're gonna see Derrick Jones Jr. hit a turnaround jumper in your face to end the series.
That's the thing.
Like, because he's so comfortable with shooting now. He's in a rhythm. And that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, so the OKC Dagnall just needs to. I think he needs to adjust quicker. He didn't adjust enough. Like, he's just kind of like let it happen, or like tell your guys shoot the ball. If Shea kicks it out to you, that's a shot, because that means the Mavs defense just collapsed on them. So they kind of need to. I guess it just needs to grow. It just needs to be another year of growing. J-Dub, he just wasn't aggressive either on offense, and maybe just a confidence thing too. So they just need to kind of just mature, I guess, in a way, and like create more. Like, ISO is not gonna work. I hope you guys now know that. Like, it's straight ISO is not gonna.
I will say though, this roster that we see from Oklahoma, like this fun, all the barking and all the fun they have, this will not be the same roster next year if they want to win. If they want to win, they got to get rid of a lot of people. Like, not get rid of, but they got to replace a lot of people. Like, Aaron Wiggins cannot be your sixth man. Isaiah Joe can't be your sixth man. Whatever these things are, they're good players, but they're not pieces for the playoffs and the finals and stuff like that. If you want to move forward into the later end of the season. And the second thing is, I don't know how to put this, but I don't know if Shea, Jalen, and Chet will be the trio going forward. I feel
Mhm.
there has to be some sort of hierarchy set between Chet and Jalen, and I feel like whoever they have to make an insane leap. They both have to make leaps next season. They made leaps this season, but they have to make even more of a leap next season. And then
Mhm.
the last thing is, I mentioned this earlier in the pod. I'll bring it up now. Sam Presti, stop hoarding the picks. This is what costed you because you had the package to go get PJ Washington. You had the package to go get Daniel Gafford way better than the Mavs package,
Mhm.
and you didn't. You forgot it. You got Gordon Hayward instead, which was absolutely useless
Useless.
because
He even said he felt useless.
and because like you, what you gave up for him was pretty much nothing, and maybe what you had to give up for PJ or Daniel Gafford was be a little bit more. But you gotta take those risks when you have this type of team. When you're the number one seed all season, you gotta
Go
be like,
for it.
look, we might be able to win it. Let's just go for it. So
Yeah.
that I think that is the main thing. Coaching adjustments, leaps from Chet and J Dub, and go get pieces. Go get actual
Yep.
competitive pieces to play in this next season.
No, for sure. I for Dallas, I think I'll save it for like when we're
Yeah.
gonna talk about the next year because mostly wanted to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. So moving to the other side of the West, we have the Denver Nuggets, the reigning champs with the MVP, versus the Minnesota Timberwolves with Michael Jordan's son and company. And yes, no, that came down to an exciting, really exciting finish. Like there was
That
just
was a fun
blowouts
one.
on blowouts on blowouts in this series, and it was just wild. And at one point we're just like, oh, I guess the Nuggets figured something out. But
Yeah.
let's just dive into it. They lost, they choked, I think like a
20.
15, was it 20?
20.
Oh, is that
20.
we went balloon to 20? Yeah, because
Yeah.
yes, so like point lead to
You talk
them.
about the Lakers 20-point lead blowing.
Here we
Welcome to
go.
hell. This is the biggest game 7 lead blown
Blown, yeah.
ever
Yeah.
in NBA history. Ever.
So for me, it's just funny because the Nuggets, like Jokic got his numbers, sure,
Yeah.
and Murray ended up getting his numbers too. But this is not the Murray and like the team that we saw in the last round against the Lakers, because those role players, I'm looking at each and every one of them. They, including obviously last year they did their thing, but this year against the Lakers versus what they showed this series, forget about last game. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, like, yeah, obviously Aaron Gordon had a Kobe game, but like KCP, like 5 points, 4, 7.
Let me pull up the numbers for. Let me tell you what Michael
That's the
Porter
last
Jr.
game, by the way.
averaged for the Lakers. 23-8. 23-8 on 55-48. What did Aaron Gordon average? 14-9-5 on 52% shooting. Kentavious Caldwell, 8 a game, 2-2, but he shot 40% from three. This, that, whatever. You go to this series, and we're gonna give our credit to Minnesota, but
Of course, but
Aaron Gordon, 14 points per game. Cool. Michael Porter Jr., 10 points per game on 37% shooting. KCP, 7 points per game on 37% shooting.
look, credit to Minnesota for sure, and I know you're gonna get into it too. But some of the shots Michael Porter Jr. be taking were the same shots. I'm not gonna
It's
lie.
the same shots,
They,
man.
because they're
Same
worried
shots.
about the other two. You know what I mean? Like MPJ,
Mhm.
if he goes off, he goes off. Most teams probably think like that. It's just the one person on MPJ. The same
Yeah.
shots he was just drilling every other series, including Lakers. He just said, "No, not this time." Like
I don't want to win anymore.
I want to be in under 2 in my props. Okay, but yeah, like come on, man. Like
Someone check Jonte's FanDuel right now.
yeah, like what? So that's the thing with thing. Shout out to Minnesota. They had like so much outside noise, man. Like positive with Ant. It's always positive with Ant. No offense, like the good noise, but the noise with Karl Anthony Towns, the noise with Rudy Gobert. Oh my gosh, like obviously the other role players too, but like especially Rudy. Oh my, we like everyone has been talking about he gets played off the court, this and that. Now we're not gonna sit here and say he's the reason they decided to they advanced. Obviously that's not the reason, but man, oh man, shout out to him, man. All the hate, he played his butt off, and it's just, yeah, go on, no, go for it.
Okay, you might not say he's the reason. Game 7, him and Cat were the reason.
No,
Ant
it's
was having
true.
a terrible game. Let's be honest with that.
Sure.
First of all, and I'll get to Ant because he had a
Interesting.
sensational second half.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about the game 7 first.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
go down 20 in the first half. I'm on Twitter yelling about Rudy Gobert. This guy cannot play offense. Like, my problem with him is his offensive game is so bad that elite defensive game that he has is getting countered. You know, it's just balancing out to zero every time every time he touches the ball on offense. And then we go into the second half. I don't know what they talked about. You know, we saw the little Ant clip of him telling, I'm going to get in my bag now. You know, so I don't know what they talked about in the locker room, but they come out. What does I don't know if it was Chris Finch or the assistant coach or if it was just, you know, Rudy saw something or maybe the team saw something. They kept every time they did the stupid little switch, Jamal Murray's on Rudy or Christian Brown's on Rudy or KCP's on Rudy because they're like, they won't pass it to him. They were dumping the ball into him, and he was getting foul calls, stopping the game. They're getting to the line, and guess what he did? He hit his free throws. I think he went. Let me pull it up. 7 for 9 from free throw.
7 for 9. Yep.
7 for 9. Like, you know, like he's hitting his free throws. He hit some timely buckets. He only had 3 field goals made, but he had that timely fadeaway. The shot clock running down.
Nuts.
Green FN. You know. And then we want to talk about the other player, Cat. Man, what? You know, shout out Cat from everything, all the jokes that everyone has made his whole entire career.
Let's go.
This playoff run is just sensational. He's playing amazing right now. If you want to take a look, this series 18-9-3 on 51-40%. Then we have Ant obviously 27-5-5 on 50%, 37 from 3. And now let me get to the Nuggets. So the first 2 games we saw something where it was like this hounding defense that the Wolves had, and they got punched in the face, this, that, whatever. And then we saw the next 2 games, game 3 and 4. I felt like Nuggets kind of figured it out on offense, but Nuggets were also, finding like they were just hitting some crazy stuff, and I feel like their offense just started clicking on all cylinders. You know, Jokic is getting 10 assists, and, Jokic is not getting the turnovers, and, their offense has started going crazy. But then we get to game 6. That game, I feel like, was the turning point of this series, where it was like, what the hell are we watching here? Like, and I got to talk about Jokic, man. He was so bad defensively this series, man. Like, it was atrocious. Like I said, Luka, he finally showed some effort. And even last year, all the playoffs, the Jokic was like a net 0, net 1. He was not a negative on defense. He would showing effort, this, that. I kept screaming with the Lakers, and I kept saying with the Wolves, go vertical on this team. They don't jump. This team does not jump. They're not a vertical. They don't play. They're not athletes. They don't play above the rim. They play below the rim, with all their footwork and everything like that. And that's what the Wolves did. That's what the Wolves did. They just hounded them. They kept being aggressive to get to the paint. And Ant started getting the doubles. When Ant started getting doubled like that, which is low-key a flaw that he needs to really work on because it was getting really bad for him. Shout out to Kat and Nas and everybody else. They were playing aggressive. They were getting to the paint, drawing fouls, hitting your layups, going vertically against this team. You have to. That's how you beat the Nuggets, because the Nuggets are not built to face athleticism like that. Right. They're going to force you out into, they want you to get open threes and take your middies and this, that, but they don't want you to get to the rim. So they're going to prevent you from getting to the rim as much as they can, which on the flip side, then the Wolves are like, I'm going to keep funneling you into the rim.
Yeah.
And then I found this interesting stat. So Jamal Murray didn't score a single point from the time Denver led 58-38 to when Minnesota led 85-80. And basically said, I can't score, but he's not scoring anymore. I'm done with him. He had 21 points in the first half, I think.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray.
Crazy.
Jamal Murray had 21 points in the first half. He finished the game with 35. So, at the fourth quarter, he had a little burst, but from that stretch to cut that 20-point lead to a 5-point,
what was going on during
deficit to a 5-point lead?
Yeah.
Jamal went because of that.
Yeah. No, it's true. And so we could have had the Euro off, and we could
Mhm.
have had the Aura off. But I think
Yeah.
now we have the next best thing. The two young stars that, one guy who's always in the MVP race and one guy that
Faces the league off.
they're trying to
Yeah.
really make him the face of the league, well, prematurely or not. Hey man, he's one of them. So
Mhm.
this is gonna be an interesting series. Timberwolves and Minnesota, Timberwolves and
Wait, before that,
Mavericks. Oh yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, is the next step for the Denver Nuggets? Like,
Oh
in my opinion, like
yeah.
it's like you can't stay pat like that. You gotta go get moves. Their bench was terrible, and their benches, why they didn't win the game. They both had 35 plus, the two-sided dragon, but everybody else stunk it up. So, what do you think that
So
going forward?
for me, I think last year there's two things here. Jamal Murray has to play like the second best player on the team. That's what they did last year. Every time someone would go on a run. I mean, we saw it last series. He shuts you up, right? So that's the big thing. Like, it's not like you have your 1-2 punch, and we saw it can win you a championship. Cool. You went to 7 games with the Wolves. It's not that embarrassing. The embarrassing is maybe giving up the 20-point lead, but you win 7 games. It's not like they mollywopped them like they swept the Suns. Okay. They won 7 games. They're still, reigning champs in that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Bruce Brown, that whole Bruce Brown conversation kind of comes into play with the debt situation in the Nuggets. But Minnesota also played 8-man, just like they played 8-man. Like, the rotations shrink naturally. But the other guys need to. So it's either somebody makes another leap. Like MPJ, he's just there to be a catch and shoot person. But can he be more? Like, that's the thing. In those situations, can he be more? Like, so that's why I'm like, it's not like maybe make the bench better, but it's like, can MPJ or Aaron Gordon, like we were giving Aaron Gordon flowers.
Shot creation. I think that's the thing.
Yeah,
I think
right?
that's the thing. Shot creation.
They can't just sit around.
From other than Jokic and Murray.
Because look what happens when those two get game plan. The other guy, somebody needs to step up. And look what happened over there. Obviously, Ant was not having a good game. Rudy, funny enough, he starts hitting like 2-3 field goals, but that's not the thing. Cat and Naz Reid. Naz Reid played like the 6th man of the year yesterday. And that's the thing. But Naz Reid, he played what? 21 minutes? Okay, so obviously it's not as high as the other 5 that started, but he came in and he punched, in the face. So in that case, you either get someone that can be your 6th man like that, or the MPJ or Aaron Gordon when Jokic and thing sits. Can you go grab 20 points and like just become, kind of like.
I will say about your Naz Reid point. Like, look what the Nuggets did, dude. Cat got his 5th foul. Naz Reid came in.
Yeah,
nothing changed. You
That's
know what I mean? There wasn't an advantage that the Nuggets could exploit. Then when Rudy Gobert got his fouled out, and then Cat comes in, and it's Cat and Naz, still nothing really changed. I thought it was the end of the game. It was like 2 minutes left, but like, I feel like that's the thing with the Nuggets, where it's like when Jokic goes to sit and when Jamal's going to sit, or where it's only Jokic and only Jamal, like it gets really spooky for them.
Yeah,
they don't have enough shot creation.
To me,
having Ant and Mike Conley, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
To me, like, it's just random. It just flashed in my head the name, but when like Giannis or like, I guess now Dame, if he's healthy, like next year, if they go to the bench, like Bobby Portis is kind of like that player. He creates his own shots. He just crashes the rim. He hits a fadeaway. 100%. Like, it's like you need those kind of players to step up. And MPJ and Aaron Gordon here, I guess, like they can't just like sit around and just be like, oh, we'll just wait till the other guys, they get back up. Like, no, you gotta, turn. And it's funny because against the Lakers, they do that. Like whether or not, like, so it's like they just forgot how to do it, or they're just, Mike Malone didn't tell them to, like, we need you guys to, take more shots. Murray don't got it tonight. So that's the thing. I don't think it's panic button for the Nuggets at all.
No.
You guys have your team, you have your coach, you have your front office. You just gotta, little tweaks, right? It's like the Celtics. If the Celtics were to get out, no offense, it's a failure of a season, but it's not like emergency button as much as the media would like to make, right? Unlike other teams. But yeah, that's my take on the Nuggets, really. And so now we have Minnesota versus Dallas. Interesting. Before we get deep into it, I think the series was Minnesota was 3-1 against the Mavericks. But this season, but the 4 games happened before the trade deadline.
Yeah.
The last one was like January 31st. So that was like the old team, I guess you could say. And Minnesota was the best defense all year, of course. And you still in the playoffs, they are. But the funny enough, the Mavericks were the best defense apparently. If for all that matters, for what it's worth, the last 20 games of the season.
Yeah,
So
I've seen that.
they started, and we see them too. The graphic pops up. So it's like if Minnesota, if Minnesota is the best defense, but then it's like Dallas also, and they did it to OKC, and they did it to the Clippers. For what it's worth, like those are still great teams offensively, at least. So it's interesting. Like it's a very interesting matchup. For me, I think it's gonna come down to, I guess Connolly and Kyrie are gonna be the matchup. Like they're gonna, be guarding each other and stuff.
No, I think it's Ant and Kyrie that's gonna be guarding each other.
Well, I guess when Mavs are on defense, I think Derrick Jones Jr. is gonna be on Ant, and PJ is gonna be on Cat, and Rudy and Gafford are Lively, and Luka's gonna stay on McDaniels, like on when the Mavs are on defense, and then that's when Kyrie's gonna be with Connolly. But then on the flip side,
I think Ant's gonna be guarding Kyrie.
No, you're saying that when I'm saying when the Mavs are on defense.
Oh yeah, okay, my bad. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm saying when the Mavs are on defense, I think that's how it's gonna start, because Derrick Jones Jr. is like a wing defender on Ant. Again, like I don't know how much it's gonna, but like that's how they're gonna set up. Yeah, I think, and because PJ is like long, he's a power forward. He's gonna have to watch. He's gonna guard Cat, and Luka's gonna sit on McDaniels.
And then PJ and Derrick Jones both start.
Yeah, they've been starting. And then it's Lively and Gafford that's been like whoever is gonna show up tonight, I guess. So for me, the big man battle is gonna be interesting, because the thing is, the Timberwolves, they're like the cheat code for every other team, against every other team, because they're so long and tall.
Yeah, we're just bigger than everybody.
We're bigger than everybody. So you can do that. You can against the Clippers and against the Thunder, you can be out big them.
Yeah.
Right? Like naturally, personnel wise. But can those two like put up a fight against their two bigs? I think that's a big one. Another thing is, like, I think you're probably going to get into it, but they're just so Minnesota, all five of them play defense and they're always locked in. Is Kyrie and Luka going to be as locked in on the other side? Yeah. So it's like there's like these. That's what makes it so interesting. And Luka, he's a generational talent. I don't know how much you can shut him down. He's not having the best playoffs, but are him and Kyrie, especially Kyrie, like, is that who Kyrie is? Or you know what I mean? Like, not he's just gonna have 8 points in a game, like multiple games in a row, or has he been preserving his energy because he feels like he just needs to, get to, when we get to the latter rounds, I'm gonna come out and just unload the clip. There's the questions there that needs to be answered. But yeah, what's your take on it so far, like for the series before the game?
The way I look at it is like this. Okay, so for this series that's coming up with the Mavs and the Wolves, I think this is a couple of things that factor in. I think, well, I'll say off break that I think I probably have leaning towards the Wolves winning this series. But I will say this. This is kind of a clashing of the same style, I feel like. Because the way both teams are orchestrated, both teams are long and big and, kind of can fly around. And both teams are athletic and vertical. They go up. Yeah. They are, like Mavs have the most lobs in the playoffs right now. All they do is lob city. Like, I swear to God, all of their passes nowadays is just somebody getting a lob. And same thing with the Wolves on the other end. Well, Wolves are super athletic. They're just flying around everywhere. I think the key matchup in this series is going to come down to it's going to be Cat and PJ. Again, I think that's whatever. Maybe if Cat, I feel like Cat has the edge. Like, he'll take advantage of that series. But, for on the flip end, PJ Washington, how much can he replicate what he showed us in this last series? I don't know though if the Wolves will play that same scheme that OKC played, where they're just leaving people wide open, selling out on Luka and them. Yeah. I feel like Wolves might be more confident in guarding people one-on-one and funneling them into Rudy Gobert. On the flip end, I'm curious to see how Lively and Gafford kind of play against that Nas, Cat, and Rudy, because I think this might be one of the easier matchups for
the Wolves bigs.
The Wolves bigs on the defensive end. You know what I mean? Like, even when they played Nurkic, Nurkic has way more offensive talent than
Those two.
Gafford and Lively,
Yeah.
and then when you're playing up against Jokic, like Jokic is insane, right?
Yeah.
So that's tough. I feel like it'll be a breath of fresh air for both of them. The
Yeah.
defensive effort that they have to put in. I think that's on Jason Kidd to try to kind of game plan. How can we get the 2-man game with the big man going, while Rudy's there. And
Yeah.
when Rudy's not there, what can we do to take advantage of it? Because the one advantage the Mavs have is they play two centers,
Yeah.
but then on the flip end is Naz Reid and Cat can actually guard centers. But these aren't really the Jokic type centers. These are athletic, big
Traditional.
7-footers. They're all 7-footers.
Yeah.
Everybody's Jokic 6'10", Jokic using footwork and really like
And
body control, this, that, whatever. So it's easier to stay in front of Jokic. It's kind of Jokic hitting these crazy shots. But with these guys, they're kind of flying. They're running around everywhere.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, you mentioned it. How good is Kyrie going to be? Like, is he going to show up? If he shows up, then I think that the Kyrie, Ant, and Luka, like, that little whole subsection, what's going to happen there? But that also means Jaden McDaniels is going to have another good series like he did have.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think. I think I tweeted this earlier. I said that if I'm thinking just logically and just way the teams made, I got the Wolves in 5 or 6 games. But it's really hard. I'm gonna in saying 7 games isn't really a prediction, but I'm gonna say Wolves win in 7. But honestly, dude, I feel like there's this like basketball god things going on where I think that it might be time to see that Luka Tatum matchup. Bird. I feel like they could be the next Bird Magic. I've been trying to get this. I've been trying to do this for years. And I really want to see that matchup in the finals more than I want to see anything else with these 4 teams I have. I need that series so badly because that's going to be so much fun to watch Luka and Tatum go at it because those are probably my 2 favorite players other than Braun in the league and AD. But but I'll give the edge to the Wolves.
For me, that's the thing. I think you said it, basketball gods thing. Sure, I'm a big Luka fan and this and that. I speak highly of him and all that. And I think he is that good of a player. It's not potential. He's here and he's now. I'm worried a little bit about how his knee is because you have to be at your athletic best to kind of go up against these Wolves. But that's the thing. So my heart kind of says Mavericks in 6. That's how literally I'm just it's something about it, like an itch in your ear or your brain that says, I think the Mavericks, it could be their time, their year, But I think it allows it. Logically, it's Minnesota can probably get this done, but this is also their first Western Conference Finals. So you can scheme, you can plan as much as you want. The moment doesn't seem big for anyone yet, but it all comes crashing down, and then the narrative flips, and then Twitter goes crazy.
I will say, if you want to talk, if you want to talk, just if we want to go based off the numbers, just off of this season alone, Luka's been frying Jaden McDaniels. I don't really think. Lou Dort guarding Luka, that wasn't really guarding. He was just following him most of the time, and it's warranted. Luka cries a lot, this, that, but he was getting his ass beat. He was trying to kill him. But if you want, I just pulled up the numbers here. So the last 3 games they played, Luka 33, 12, and 6, 39, 6, and 13, 34, 6, and 8.
Did they say Luka score? Everyone else don't score?
And Luka has averaged 26, 7, and 7 and versus Jaden McDaniels in his career. So, that series is going to be interesting. That matchup is going to be interesting. But I feel like on both ends, it really comes down to Kyrie, Kyrie, Cat, and Kyrie, Cat, PJ, and Jaden. Those four, I feel like whoever wins, whoever's better out of the 4 are going to win this series. I think that's what it's going to be. I think Luka and Ant are going to get their numbers regardless. So I don't think that's going to come down to that, but I'm just edging towards
the Wolves.
The Wolves, players playing better because I think Cat's shown me enough this playoff and this year alone where I feel like he could be the 3rd best player in this series. And that's what I think.
I think it's going to come down to coaching at the end of it. Because both, it's how are you going to use your pieces better than the other coach is going to use his pieces? And
I'm curious to see what this team to be for on the Wolves end. Like I'm really curious to see how they want to guard the matchup and guard them. I'm also curious to see how much like the the Mavericks, are gonna rely on their centers, because
Yep.
the funneling tactic, it works, but it only works so well if you have a good center working there, and Rudy's in the center in the paint. But with Gafford and Lively, I'm just curious to see like what the game plan is going to be going forward. I don't know what the game plan is going to be. There is ways that you can take advantage. I still don't think this Wolves offense is that good. I think their defense and their transition and their emphasis on attacking the rim is really good, but their offense in general, I just don't think that they're really good.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So yeah, that's our predictions and our analysis right before the both series start. Boston and Indiana, I think, go game 1 tomorrow, and Wednesday night we get the Mavericks and the Timberwolves. So of course we'll be watching, and I'm sure everyone else will be, excited to be watching these both series and seeing who ends up in the finals come June 6th. And yeah, I think that's all we have for today.
I'm just gonna say one last thing. D'Lo, Rui Hachimura, and Austin Reeves. I'll see you in hell. That's it. I'll see you in hell because we should have won that series, especially after watching the Wolves. I know the Wolves are a great team. I've been saying all year. We should have beat them. I'll see all you guys in hell. I'll be there with you.
So there you go. The Lakers offseason plans. We started right there with those 3 names. And tune in the summer when we get really deep and I guess dig down on the Lakers roster moves. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Ridgeway Pod. Please leave a comment, leave a like if you like today's episode, and just comment if you have any recommendations of any topics we can cover. We'd love to cover it. As you know, the season's coming down to an end. We do want to get into other sports soon, hopefully. But if you have any preference, please leave a comment, let us know, and we'll obviously plan for it. I think we're excited to talk about other stuff too. So and just NBA
Euros are coming up.
Yeah, Euros, Copa America,
NFL training camp's about to start soon.
Yeah, for sure.
We're getting all the other sports are slowly coming back, and we're gonna start talking about those eventually. But the basketball's hot right now. We're in the thick of it, so we're gonna try to finish off that, but we're gonna get to those other topics.
100%. Please subscribe to the Ridgeway Pod. We're just trying to grow, and we'd love the support from you guys. And see you next time. Take care.
Peace.